Hey everybody, Jason Blaha here with Ice Cream Fitness. Today I want to try something new. I've noticed that a lot of my viewers, when I do a Q&A and do a full video about one of your questions or a topic that one of you suggests, that people seem to thank me for it. They get really excited, they like it. So what I'm going to start doing is 3 or 4 times a month, I'm going to pull about 5 of the questions I get either in video comments or in my inbox. And I'm going to go ahead and put those into a video and briefly answer each one. And that way I'm able to answer a lot more of the questions that individual people have, and it will give more of my subscribers a chance to get some of their questions answered in videos easier. And it will allow you guys to have a little more say into what my content covers and what sort of things I discuss. Hold on, let me give you guys a couple bicep shots first. All right, on to the questions. All right, the first question here is, I need help. I'm 6'1", 254 pounds, lean body mass of 185.5, and I have multiple sources saying my maintenance is around 2450, but I put my activity level in, it changes a shitload. Some sites say it is around 3800, some say 3900, and then one said 2994, so this is quite troubling. All right, my response to this person would be quite simply, when you're doing these caloric estimations, don't take them as the be-all, end-all. Plug your numbers into a calculator, go ahead and consume your maintenance calories for a week or two and see what happens with the scale. If the scale goes up a little bit, then obviously it's a surplus, and if it goes up a pound per week, you have to figure it's probably somewhere between a 300 to 500 calorie surplus. And if your weight goes down a little bit, it's the same thing on the deficit. Use these to establish a baseline and then fine-tune your calories from there based upon what happens on the scale, so that you can determine your true maintenance, because there can easily be up to 10% variation from person to person on these calculations. And because activity factors vary more than we sometimes realize, plugging your activity in isn't always going to be accurate. So you have to just use these as a loose guide to get you in the ballpark, and then you adjust your caloric intake from there. Next question. All right, someone asked me about my novice 5x5 program. Would this routine be recommended to someone on a cut, or is it more of a bulking routine? For example, I've read that starting strength is good on a cut at the start, but as the weeks go on, it becomes rather difficult. Okay, this one's also simple. My answer to that is yes, my novice routine can absolutely be run as a cutting program, but the way it's written is intended as a bulking program. What I would recommend on that is, one, reduce the weight increases on it. You may not be able to increase weight, or you probably will not be able to increase weight nearly as rapidly as I suggest. So only do it at half of the rate I recommend as far as the progression scheme goes, and you'll still have to do the resets and things when you stall. And reduce the volume slightly. I would say turn all the 5x5 sets into 3 sets of 5 instead of 5 sets of 5, and all of the 3 sets of 8 that I have you do for the accessory work and the isolation movements, I would reduce those down to 2 sets of 8. So you're cutting out around a third of the volume. And that's how I would adjust this routine personally for someone in a caloric deficit who's cutting. All right, next question. And this was in reply to my video on healthy fats. Hey Jason, I'm 156 pounds and bulking. I'm getting about 50 to 60 grams of fat. I want to minimize fat gains, but at the same time keep good hormone production. All right, my advice on that is, as you're bulking, you need to go ahead and eat the minimum numbers of fat that I recommend, which is going to be around 0.45 grams per pound of body weight. And this individual is a little bit below that. I would say they need to bump it, instead of 50 to 60, they need to eat around 70 grams, and they need to do it every day. If you want to minimize fat gain, yes, when you're in a surplus, going too high in dietary fat can cause more fat gain. But at the end of the day, it is overall calories that's going to impact that the most. We're really nitpicking over small differences when we're discussing the different impacts those micronutrients are going to have on fat gain when you're in a surplus. And yes, dietary fat can have a slightly higher tendency to convert to body fat, but a few grams of it, or 10 grams of it, or 20 grams of it a day over the course of a bulk is not going to make a visible difference in the mirror in terms of fat gain over doing carbs. Now, I personally do prefer higher carbs because they are more anabolic overall than fat is once the minimum threshold is hit. But if your fat intake isn't high enough, it is going to negatively impact your bulk. If you're not consuming enough dietary fat, it is going to impede your hormone production, and it's going to impede your progress on your bulk. So you're going to gain less muscle. So you need to be aware of that. And if you're eating the same amount of calories and you're gaining less muscle, then invariably you're going to gain more body fat. So realistically, it's still not a viable solution to drop fat too low in an attempt to minimize fat gain on the bulk. It's not ideal, so I wouldn't recommend it. All right, next question. Hey Jason, just a question, not a rant. I love your videos. How come people that are intermittent fasting, as opposed to getting 6 meals, eating the same amount of calories, are getting more of a fat burning sensation and seeing better fat burning properties? Thanks. All right, my answer to that one, as someone who personally follows intermittent fasting, I don't think in this case people are necessarily getting better fat burn from the intermittent fasting. While there may be fat burning benefits to this, they've never been proven, and it's highly theoretical. It's not something that I would bank on. There's just not enough data to really back a statement like that. And while it is very possible it may offer a mild advantage there just isn't enough data to support the idea, and it's not something that I would advise someone to try to rely on for that purpose. It's going to be your overall macronutrients and your caloric deficit that's going to determine the fat burn. However, I think why a lot of people are finding great success with it comes down to simple diet adherence. I know for me, it's very successful when cutting, or even when not cutting, because I'm a voracious overeater, and I find it easier to stick within my calorie ranges when I spend a lot less time during the day eating and thinking about food. When I have a narrower feed window like that, I tend to stick to my diet better, and I tend to cheat less, and by cheat meaning going over my target calories and macros for the day. I have better diet adherence using this, and I would suggest that that is possibly why you're seeing a lot of people who are having great success at it. It's a simple issue of diet adherence, and if you're adhering to your diet more often, you're eating less overall calories as a result, you're going to lose fat faster. Basic math. All right, final question. Hey Jason, I recently joined a gym that's open 24/7. Is there anything wrong with exercising at night, say 10 p.m.? Call me crazy, but I'm not really comfortable exercising during the day. I guess I'm too self-conscious at the moment. Well, that one's also easy. I would say that the ideal time to train is going to be when you have the most energy, when you feel the strongest, and what fits into your schedule and your lifestyle and your preference. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. And because of my work schedule and social schedule, I had a period of time for a few months to where I was actually training at midnight. And my gains were fantastic. I saw no difference in my progress versus training at other times. And in all honesty, I don't think it's going to have a meaningful impact. So train when you want to train, but preferably train when you feel the strongest and you feel the most energetic. All right, guys, that's all of the questions. I'm awaiting everyone's feedback on this, so you guys let me know if you like this idea of me doing these type of Q&As or not, or if you'd like me to do anything a little different with them. I always take the feedback of all of my viewers seriously, and I try to read through all of the comments, all of the questions every single day, and hopefully this has been informative. Let me give you guys another bicep shot, and I'll talk to you next time.